If you're struggling with drawing characters, then let me show you everything you need to know to draw them better, quicker and easier. So pretty much in this video you will know exactly what you need to study in order to improve your art, also how to actually practice, and then a simple process of creating a character illustration. So you can either just make a full illustration, you can create your own characters like I did here, but also you will be able to draw them better from photos or references. But first let's talk about the most important thing when it comes to drawing characters, which are fundamentals. So pretty much there's a lot of fundamentals. You may be even overwhelmed and don't really know each one and how to actually practice and what it is. So pretty much we have 9 of them, at least in my opinion. So the first one is a simple gestures. Then we have anatomy, form and structure. Then we have perspective, light and shadow, color theory, composition, design, and also the last one, which I think is also important and it's a fundamental, is lines. So now let me quickly explain each of them. So first we have gestures, and as you can see here we have some poses for the characters, and pretty much just practicing and learning about gestures will make your characters poses much more fluid, less stiff, and just will look better. So pretty much these are like 30 seconds ones. So the best way to actually practice is just, pick a reference, set time for 30 seconds and try to draw it. But I will tell you more in depth later. And these are like 5 minutes if I'm not mistaken. And the main thing here are these curves. So pretty much if we build a pose, here we can see an C, boom, and there's C, C, boom, C. Basically all these lines flow into each other. For example, even here, boom, boom. Then we have this big C like that, boom. So we have a sense of flow of the character. Even here you can see this line goes at a curve like that, boom. Then obviously the hand points at our face. Then we have shoulder, arm, forearm, and then this big line of action of the body. Then we have this curve here that points into leg like that, boom. So pretty much this is the base of our character whenever we draw it. Then we have anatomy. So pretty much this is an understanding about the body. So each muscle, what are they? So be able to draw like here a pelvis, as you can see here. So basically here we have abs, boom. Then we have our obliques on this side here, boom. Obviously our quads, legs here, and basically just being able to draw them. Also simplify the body. Here we have rib cage. So how to draw a rib cage. Basically we just put a neck, then shoulders, boom, this, and even here. But also obviously you can go a little bit more in depth and even learning how to draw a skull, like here we have. I know learning fundamentals might be overwhelming because you don't know what you don't know. So where do you even start? I've been there for quite some time, and a little bit of structure goes a long way, especially if you want to learn how to actually draw characters. And one thing that can really help you is Skillshare, which is today's sponsor. Skillshare is an amazing platform that has a lot of high quality classes, from drawing and painting to programming, filming, editing, and much more. I took a class characters illustration, drawing faces, figures, clothing by Gabriel Piccola. The class is great. Even if you're a beginner or intermediate, you can still find a lot of value in it. And it teaches you how to actually draw characters. And one thing that I immediately pick on was the importance of warming up with a quick 30 seconds gestures, which will not only help you create better poses for your characters, but also will loosen your hand, which will be a game changer when you want to draw pretty much anything. And also another thing that I learned there, which is something that will make your character sketches and drawings much more appealing, which is just simply having outside lines darker and the inside ones lighter. It adds a lot of appeal. Skillshare has creative classes taught by world-class creatives like professional illustration, renowned graphic designers, and successful entrepreneurs. It is the best place to learn a creative skill or pick up a new hobby. And if you're looking to reconnect with your creativity and maybe avoid brain rot, Skillshare is where humans come to learn from other humans. And the first 500 people that will use my link in the description or scan the QR code will receive 1 month free trial of Skillshare. Link in the description. So pretty much you just start with curves and then add some form on top, which is a third fundamental. So it is form and structure. Pretty much you want to be able to build a whole body using just super simple shapes like you see here. So we have like a triangle, a cylinder, boom, an oval like that, a ball, that, and a cube. Obviously these shapes can be like simple. This even can be a shape, boom. As you can see here we have our pelvis, really simplified. So this part here is basically like a boom, like a jazz pelvis. So pretty much For example, here we have cylinder for the leg, boom, boom for the thigh, and same here. Super simple shapes everywhere. Even in hands, as you can see here, this we can simplify into shape like that. And then fingers are just simple cylinders, boom, like here. This goes down like that, boom. Then we have also important fundamental, which is perspective. So obviously everyone knows what perspective is. Basically, you'll be able to draw things in different views. And obviously 1-point perspective. So you have one vanishing point, horizon line, and every point, everything converges to that. Same here, 1-point perspective. And here we have like 2-point perspective, and here 3. And obviously there are like more, like 4 you can have that, boom. You can also have 5, and however you want. So next we have light and shadow. Just know how light works. So pretty much all the components. So obviously here we have light, here we have our shadow, our cast shadow, there we have core shadow, then midtones, halftones actually, boom, then bounce light here, and highlight could be there, and also here ambient occlusion under this bowl. So basically this will help you render better things. For example, here we have a little bit gold. Obviously we can also add textures, and here different balls, like here more anime style cel shading, same here, but pretty much just understanding the light, how light and shadow works. So basically you can go from that to that. So this is like no shadows, no anything, a little bit shadows here, but then we just add some nice shadows like here, nice light. And here we also have color theory. So basically how colors relate to each other, what are actually good relationships. So pretty much the complementary colors. So you have a blue one like here, let's say this color here, blue, and then the complementary color would be here. So you can pick this, and we have colors that go well. Same here, so this and that go well. Obviously this and that also goes well. So pretty much understanding of colors, so you can turn a simple ball with shadows and light into like more refined with shadows with colors. And next fundamental is composition. So pretty much just placing the character, the background, everything to create a nice illustration. For example, here, one thing that you can always do is start by sketching some thumbnails. So here we have some thumbnails of background studies, pretty much super simple, just a couple of values. Like here we have 1, 2, 3 values and a little bit of gradient here, boom. Super simple. Even like here a couple of values. Obviously the background is a little bit more, but even here in the character sketches, what I do is basically I start with a simple sketch. So this was first one, here with second one and third one, and then I went into fourth one, which I like the most, this one. So pretty much in the composition you want to plan your illustration, so how you place things in your, I guess, canvas. Rule of thirds. So basically even in this here we have rule of thirds. So basically we divide the canvas like that, boom boom. So we have, there is one column, so basically each piece is the same. And here I wanted to make the character on this line here, even here, boom. So maybe something like that, boom. I wanted to make the head in this portion, and same here around this portion here. Same obviously here, boom, boom, around this, there. And even here, we have the face on this third here. So pretty much just placing all the elements you're drawing to make a nice picture, like this cup of water that is pouring also on this section here, boom. And then we have design. So here basically how to make appealing shapes, how to make appealing characters, like silhouettes of them, like how to actually create better shapes. So instead of making like a cylinder like that, boom, you can actually make it different. So one side might be curved like this, much more interesting, or they might also taper, so they go into each other and in the future they meet. So something like this. Obviously you can combine this, so these actually also taper. But here also you design the shapes for the folds, the characters, the clothes, like here, here, and even here you can see already these shapes here for the folds, these triangles, boom. So in design you basically want to just simplify everything and make the things much more appealing. But also the last one about lines, and here basically I'm not perfect at it, but basically you see that we want to achieve some nice simple basic lines instead of having like chicken scratches here. I think it's really important, make much more cleaner looking drawings. But obviously when it comes to drawing character, you don't really need all of these fundamentals are perfect level, you just need basics of them. And then just choose a couple of them that you want to improve. So maybe it's the skill of anatomy, maybe you can render with light and shadow, or maybe your poses are actually insane and you just practice and study gestures. So pretty much try to like take all of these fundamentals onto a basic level and then just focus on a couple, so maybe 1, 2, or 3. Let's say you want to have really fluid and nice poses. Also, you want to render nice, and maybe you have also an interesting composition. So now let me quickly tell you how to practice and improve your fundamentals. So the first one is time practice. And here basically you pick a topic that you want to improve. Let's say you want to practice gestures and figure drawing. You just get a bunch of references. Maybe let's say you have 10 references, okay? And you just set time for each of them. So maybe 30 seconds. Obviously in this 30 seconds you won't really finish it, but so maybe they will look something like this, super simple, using like simple lines. But basically the point of these time practices is to focus only on what you want to improve. So in gestures you don't really need to draw a full body, like the rib cage, the pelvis, then the abs, chest, shoulders. Just want to start simple. So curve, boom, curve, and just make some nice poses that have some motion in them. So basically you just start. There are apps for that, or you can just use a phone timer on your phone, and then basically if the times run out, boom, you just go into next references and you set time again for 30 seconds. So you can do 30, you can do 60, you can do 90, like 120, you can even do like 3 minutes or 5 minutes. But here don't really go longer than that. This is just to focus only on what you want to improve. But now for actually studies, so just pick a topic that you want to improve and then gather some cool materials that will help you study this. So maybe it's like some YouTube tutorials, maybe it's some classes on Skillshare, just whatever will help you with improving your art and the thing that you actually want to do. And then you just go through these materials and try to actually learn it. So one important thing about that is to actually go through these materials, take notes, like follow the examples in them, follow all the steps, and yeah, just take notes on the side. For example, like I don't know, this triangle here, the shape of Dorito. Just maybe you can just write in this light scenario here, we have this triangle there that is really appealing. And basically just take notes in your own words, because if you can explain it, you can understand it. And then you want to actually study this. So let's say we learn how to maybe light a character. So just take a reference of a well-lit character that you want to practice, and then you just try to copy that on a side and just focus on the light. So basically you can even trace your reference, boom, put it on a side, and then just try to draw these shapes of light, boom, obviously on your character, and just focus on that. And then after you finish, so you have your study, and let's say obviously these are the same, but some things look off, and basically just then compare your drawing with the reference and just see where you were off. Maybe the shape here is too big and this one is much smaller. Maybe you put this shape whatever somewhere else. Maybe the transitions of the light and shadow is different. So basically just take notes and then go and draw it again. But this time you have your notes on the side. So just remember, keep that in mind. But this time try to draw it with these notes in mind. So now quickly a simple process of creating illustration. So first I always start with warm-ups. So basically we need to just warm up our hand and like filling the whole canvas with circles, boom, ovals is really good. Then you can always also do a point and shoot straight line from it, boom. Then also connect the dots, so place a lot of them and connect them. And also you can do a couple of gestures. So it's super important to warm up our hand so it's a ready arm to draw. And then I do some quick thumbnail sketches. So for example, this is different drawing, but I did a couple of poses first, and then I just choose one and start drawing. So we just draw like, I don't know, 3, 4, 2 different poses, and we just choose which one we like the most, and we start drawing. Then I just do a little bit more messy sketch. So here we have a simple quick sketch, a little bit of shading obviously with some brushes, and that's it. Then maybe a light pass, so I add a quick simple light using, for example, we can add glow, boom, pick airbrush, and also add some more light. Also you can do with pretty nice with the lasso tool, which is great, and then just add some more, boom, like that. Obviously then I usually just turn off the light, and it just gives me a feeling of what the drawing might look in the end. But then I'll go and add some colors. So this was kinda actually different drawing because I already added shading in my sketches, but usually I just start by placing a flat color. For example, here we can do this. Let's set it to multiply our sketch. Then we pick our lasso tool, boom. We select our character like that. Let's say these are the clothes. We pick a color, let's say a quick layer, flat color layer, which then we can add more colors or top. So make a new layer, clip it, and this is what I always use. So pretty much if you draw now, you cannot go past that. And this is great. So let's say this is a little bit too dark. Now let's say we want to place some shadows. We can do either by using a multiply layer, boom, and just try to play with the colors so you can add better shadows, boom. And basically this is what I was doing. Now I basically just add some shading into sketches, and then I can just refine it. So basically the same here, but this time we have our shading with our sketches, but basically make everything on the different layer. So for example, we have clothes, we have skin, we have like this choker here, hair, everything on a separate layer. So then we can always do another layer for light and just play with the layers. You can also do for ambient light, for like lighting like this. But then we basically have this, which is like a quick render, but then we go into and refinement of that. So basically here we add some more details. For example, here I started adding some details, so I'll add them here, more shading. So for example, even here some shading, maybe darker, boom, more shading, more darker shadings. But basically we'll end up with something like this. So there is not really much light yet. So at this stage, when we have almost everything rendered, so pretty much here in this stage where we have everything rendered, we then go into post-processing, and here we add some layers to add maybe depth. For example, this to soften the hair, more increase to make the light a little bit more powerful, some more light, some highlights, boom, some more softer shapes for the outlines, some fixes, some more ambient bounce light, and then more light like here, here. Just add a lot of like layers that just improves the light, for example here. And then finally into correction layers. So for example, these are these layers that make this color pop, but also sometimes it's really easy to mess up and add too much things. Then I usually just merge all the layers, add some Gaussian blur so we can have nice softer edges here, boom. And as you can see here, I go with liquify tool and just adjust a couple of things. Also add some vignette on the sides, boom, and maybe a signature, boom. And we have a finished drawing. So basically from a sketch to a fully finished drawing, like here, boom. So hope you learned something, and thanks for watching, and you can also check out Skillshare in the description below.